Hello and welcome to today's live coaching call and community conversation. Today we are going to be talking about burning fat. And are you really burning fat, and how we can do some things to not only determine if we are burning fat, but how to get ourselves into a true state of fat burning. So welcome. If you're joining us maybe for the first time on YouTube or Facebook, I always ask that if you're on YouTube, you do hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and maybe even that bell notification so you'll know when we schedule our live community coaching and or rebroadcast. And if you're joining us on Facebook, please make sure you're following the page there as well. I do post updates throughout the week. And today I'm going to ask, as I always do, that this is an interactive conversation. I ask that you include your questions and comments in the comment section, and I will make sure that I address those when I am done with my little presentation. I have some slides for you today, and I hope by the end of today's talk, you feel very confident, not only about where you are with this stage of life that you're in, but that you have the power to really change anything that you are not happy with your health and your overall well-being. And yes, even your physique. So we generally talk to women here who are going through perimenopause, menopause, who are maybe postmenopausal like myself, and all the frustrations that come with seasons of change and hormonal change. And one of the things that is so frustrating for so many women transitioning through this later season of life and all the hormonal changes that go on are the fat accumulation issues, the inability to lose weight, the mental fog, even some disease related type of things that we have to manage. Autoimmune disorders. For myself, it was a pre-diabetic state. Like, all of these changes are happening, and for so many of us, we feel so lost, and for myself included, I felt very scared. But I hope to share with you guys today how you can really take control of your life and reverse a lot of those things, despite even maybe what your doctor might be telling you. Okay, so that's what we're going to talk about today. Again, always feel free to make sure you are in the comment section with me. I love making sure that I know who's here and what you're going through and how well you're doing. So let me get my slides up for you guys. We are going to talk specifically just about fat today, what fat is, how do we get ourselves in a fat burning mode, and some ways that you can tell whether you are very simply with what I call the FOC, free of charge way of knowing that you're doing the right things for yourself. So how do you know when you are burning fat, or what I really like to say, when you're fat adapted? So when you're fat adapted, that's when your body is really capable of tapping into fat as its primary source of energy, and you no longer have to be carb dependent on you feeling energized and having the ability to go through your day, right? So oftentimes, and I've talked about this here before, I talk about it in running a lot, right? When I trained for 2 official half marathons, the first time I trained, I was carb loading, right? I was training like a endurance athlete, as the olden days were training. And I bonked at mile 10. I ran out of energy. I was using goo packs and simple carbs. I gained a ton of body fat. I just didn't feel energized throughout my entire half marathon. The second time I trained fat adapted, meaning I wasn't using carbohydrates as a readily available source of energy. I ran my half marathon much faster. I never bonked. I didn't have to rely on, supplementing energy throughout my 13-mile run. And I just felt great at the end, and I wasn't hoarding a bunch of body fat because I was able to tap into fat as energy. So this is what I want to teach you guys how to do today. If you're joining us and you're in the comment section, please do me a favor, leave me a comment. Let me know if you were a graduate of our course, maybe what year and month you've graduated from, or also let me know if you're just frustrated and don't know even where to start with this. We will make sure that we get you pointed in the right direction. Okay, so how do you know when you've made this conversion, right? And it is really like this light switch kind of feeling. When you go from running on carbohydrates or carb dependent, right? For a lot of us women, that's that hypoglycemic type of lifestyle. Or maybe you're in this season where you're just unable to lose weight and you're unable to lose body fat. That usually is an indication that your body is a sugar burner and you're not quite fat adapted yet. So if you're having lots of cravings throughout your day, especially for sweets type of things, if you that's when you're a sugar burner, right? If you feel like you have to eat every couple of hours, that's really when you know you're a sugar burner. That's that hypoglycemic kind of feeling. If you're walking around with like a foggy brain and you feel like you just can't focus, again, signs of being a sugar burner. When you do, like I did through exercise, like you feel like you can't do an exercise session without, especially if you're endurance type training, without refueling before the end of your exercise, or you feel like you're hypoglycemic. So what we want to think about is the opposite of those feelings. When you're feeling the opposite of those feelings, that's when you can trust that your body is tapping into fat as energy. So when you're no longer craving sweets, or you don't have like specific food cravings that are kind of running your thought process throughout the day, when you don't need as much food, right? So when your body's tapping into fat as its primary energy source, you don't need as much food because your body's capable of finding the energy that it needs from the stuff that you have in storage, right? So the fat storage is really where your body's feeling fueled, and you won't have these type of episodes throughout the day because your body's really efficient and getting what it's needing from what you have in storage, right? Your mental performance will skyrocket because, again, our brain works better on fat, or the production of fat utilization, which are ketones, as opposed to running on sugar or glucose. So you will feel like your brain is just absolutely on fire. You have mental clarity. You'll be able to get through your day without any like fixes. It's an absolutely amazing way to live your life. I call it's the empowered way to live your life. Your endurance capacity will improve. So if you are someone who's exercising, you won't get those bunk kind of feelings, or those feelings like you have to refeed through an exercise session. I call this, when we're in that hypoglycemic or that sugar burner kind of state, I always try to describe it as you feel like you're burning off food as opposed to supporting your workouts through what you already have in your system. So think about how your workouts are feeling. If you're feeling like you have to refeed, or you're going to work off food, that's usually a sign that you're not fat adapted yet. And then, like I said, the energized sense of calm versus hypoglycemic or hypoglycemia feelings. So one of the biggest fears women have with starting something like intermittent fasting is that fear of falling out, right? I am an ex hypoglycemic woman. I know that feeling very well. When you feel like your blood sugar just completely bottoms out, you feel shaky, you feel like you're out of control. Maybe you get the hangries. My family used to tease me all the time about being hangry. I'd have to pack snacks everywhere I went. Because of my blood sugar bottomed out, I felt like an emotional mess. I just felt physically horrible. And I had to get that fix, right, to satisfy that sugar dependency that I had. Now I can confidently and very efficiently go 20 or 22 hours, sometimes 23, without food. And I feel completely energized throughout the day and have all those signs and signals that I just shared with you. So this is really what I call the FOC way to know that you are fat adapted, or you're using fat as energy. This is free of charge. Trust the signs and signals that your body is sending you. If you're not craving food, don't look for food. If you feel like you're getting supported by your body feasting off the fat that's absolutely driving you crazy and making you feel frustrated, trust that process. If your brain is clear, trust the process. If you feel like your workouts are like on top of the world, and you feel like I was just talking to someone today who feels like she's running like she was in her 30s. I feel the same way when I'm running. I feel like I was running when I was in my 30s. Trust that. And then if you do have that just feeling of just complete calm and control when you're going through your day, that is a very good sign that your body is tapping into what is most frustrating to us, and that is that fat that's making us feel like our body is just out of control, right? So trust all those signs and signals. Okay, so how do we make this happen? How do we become efficient at tapping into this fat that our body's suddenly hoarding because of these hormonal changes? And if you've been following me for a while, you know that we've talked about how there is the connection, right, between insulin and estrogen. And for a lot of us who have been running on sugar most of our lives, most of our adult lives, a lot of that comes from the diet industry. A lot of that comes from the fear of just being without food. We got to eat every 2 hours or we're going to hard fat. It's caught up to us, right? And so now we have to learn how to manage our body differently because our hormones have changed. And so this is really where becoming fat adaptive is it is literally like the secret sauce to aging successfully for a lot of us women transitioning into menopause. Okay, so I say the best way to become a fat burner or fat adapted is what we teach here in this community and in the Intermittent Fasting for Today's Aging Woman course. We have to drain our glucose tanks, right, efficiently and effectively every single day so that our body is, in a sense, forced to tap into our fat stores for its next energy source. How do we do this? We have to learn what fasting long enough means for us. So, how long do I, as the individual woman, where I'm at today and where I say that I want to go, how long do I have to fast in order to suppress the next insulin response so my body's forced to use the glucose or glycogen stores that I have available and then tap into fat? How well do I have to feast, right? Because I believe that what we really need to understand and what we need to be able to do is become fat burners without excessively consuming fat in our nutritional life. This is what I call the keto-like approach to feasting, right? Because keto or ketosis is really the byproduct of us efficiently using fat as an energy source. Nothing to do with a ketogenic diet. If you're following the ketogenic diet by the book, you know that that's consuming 20 or less grams of carbohydrates a day. That's not needed to become efficient and effective at being a fat burner. What we need to do is drain the tanks, right? And then support what it is we need from our next day with how it is we're going to choose our food. I do say a higher fat nutritional lifestyle because we need to make sure that we're putting good fats into our body, making sure that we are getting the protein that our individual body needs based on what it is that we say that we want. Again, not hyper focusing on shoving protein down our throat. And then we need to make sure that the carbohydrates that we do choose are going to be sufficient to fuel what we need, but not create an excess for us. And this is where, again, inside the Intermittent Fasting for Today's Aging Woman course, week 2, we focus on how we choose food based on what it is that we say that we want for ourselves and switching our mindset so that when we do feast, when our feasting window is open, we think about the future and not the past, right? So for a lot of us, especially for a lot of us that are like stuck in that sugar burning kind of phase, we were trained to diet away or restrict what we already had done in the past with our nutrition. And what I like to teach is figure out what it is you want to put in your body nutritionally so that tomorrow you're going to have an amazing day, or that night you're going to get an amazing night of sleep. So everything we do is so that we have a better future set up for ourselves. And that is what I call the keto-like approach to feasting. And it's different for everyone, right? And then training smart is also an amazing way for us to drain those glucose tanks, right? Because we do store glycogen in our muscles and in our liver. And for a lot of us, again, myself included, I had to learn this the hard way, right? As an ex group fitness instructor who taught high impact aerobics classes, man, you were like working out to get your heart rate sky high, right? Jumping up and down and doing all these things to get our heart rate high. And we would test our heart rate. And now what I've learned with where my body is today, that a lower heart rate for a longer period of time is really where my body is most efficient and effective at draining the glucose or glycogen stores and getting that glucose in my system and utilizing it through my fitness so that I have a better opportunity of reaching that fat burning state in my fasted window, right? So I call this draining the tanks, fasting long enough, feasting well enough, and training smart enough to tap into your fat stores as your primary source of energy without having to follow a diet. You need to learn how to trust the signs and signals that your body's sending you so that you know you're doing the right things, right? And I do also recommend getting into that mindset of living authentically. You do not have to restrict yourself diet wise. You don't have to, live like you're bummed out all the time because you're not allowed to eat things. Take the time to figure out how food works for you. Take the time to figure out how to train your body to utilize the fuel that you have available. And on a 24-hour basis, make sure you're draining those tanks. So every single day you have the opportunity to tap into those fat stores and utilize those for energy. Okay, do me a favor, hit that like button if this is making sense to you and this feels easy for you, right? This should be something that just becomes naturally to all of us. When we think about how our body feels when we're doing things, and does this feel in control? Do I feel fueled? Do I have that energized sense of calm? If you have all of those things, then you're doing the correct thing and your body will, in fact, use fat as energy. Okay, so how do we trust what we see? This is another one of those FOC things I like to talk about, free of charge, right? You don't have to seek out anything other than what you are going to see and how that feels for you. So a leaner physique is a really good indication that your body is efficiently tapping into fat as an energy source. So what do I mean by this? So oftentimes, right, we and our brain and the way we've been trained to look at ourselves is in a very I don't want to, it's in a very we don't trust what we see kind of way, right? But if you look in the mirror and you're like, wow, it's been a while since I've seen my collarbone, or wow, I can feel my hip bones, right? And you see and feel those kind of changes, or you stand with your hands on your hips and you're like, wow, I can feel my core, right? I can feel it. It feels flat. It feels firm. Like that's a really good indication that fat is being utilized as an energy source. What we need to remember about fat utilization is that your body decides the fat that it utilizes first. And it's probably not going to be the fat on the back of your legs, or for a lot of people, it's that midsection hormonal belly fat, right? Because we have to get those hormones balanced out before we can get rid of that. But there is fat that's being utilized. Remember, we have subcutaneous fat and we have visceral fat. Visceral fat is that fat that's internal, we don't see, but causes us so many health problems down the road. And that is the fat that really does have to be metabolized through your system in order for your body to utilize that as energy. And the subcutaneous fat is the fat that we don't like. I call that the ego fat, right? And that's probably the fat that's going to go last, right? But fat is still being utilized, and you just have to trust the process. You will see changes. You will feel thinner. Your rings will feel thinner. You'll see bones popping out. You'll see little muscles popping out. You'll see things changing, and you just have to trust the process and let go of the ego part of it, because it's that ego fat that generally makes us jump ship right before our body starts tapping into that. All the fat will eventually go away, but your body is going to decide the fat that's most important for your survival to utilize as its energy source first. So we have to remember that for sure. Okay, so those are the things we want to look at. The leaner physique, it's happening. Trust the process. Mental clarity. Remember, your brain your brain prefers ketones as its primary source of fuel, and it doesn't really do well on glucose. Of course, your brain needs glucose, but you will have mental clarity when you're actually in a fat adapted state. Fitness improvements, you'll be able to work out fasted. You're not going to feel like you have to work off food in order to sustain what it is you want to do with your fitness. You won't feel like you have to fuel up before before you're going to go work out. You can actually work out in a fasted state because your body's already trained to tap into that fat for energy. And you will see some healing happening, right? Because that's what happens when we are in a state of ketosis. Ketosis is the byproduct of fat utilization, and that is really where our body enters into those healing states. We call that autophagy. So all the things that you can just look for and trust. And if you stay the course and you do like I teach here, you rinse and repeat the process that feels good and makes sense for you, then you just create that lifestyle and you live it day in and day out, and the results will be mind-blowing for you if you trust the process. Okay. So what do you do if you're like, okay, I'm seeing all these things, but I'm a numbers person and I need to know 100% what's going on chemically and hormonally in my body? There are ways that you can also test this process, right? But one of the things that I do recommend is that you have to make sure that you're okay with your thoughts about all of this before you invest in testing in an external way. Like you're going to add some things in to pull out of your body to test, because you have to know that you're doing the right things. You have to understand the policies and procedures of what you need to do to get in fat burning mode before testing is going to make sense, just in case the numbers aren't how you feel. You can't discount how you feel because your body's never going to lie to you, but sometimes the internal testing takes some time to catch up to that. And that's why I really emphasize the consistency of creating a lifestyle and you doing it in your authentic way, because I'm never going to give up or walk away from what feels good to me and what I see as positive for a test result, because I know that that's going to change with consistency over time. So we have to make sure we're okay with the thought process on that. Okay, so yes, you can test for ketones. I've been talking about that. You can test with ketones using a ketone meter, right? One of the things we want to look for, because we do talk about draining the tanks, right, is glucose coming down while ketones are going up? And are you not depending on and relying on nutritional fat to produce those ketones? There is a big difference. You should be able to have ketones produced in your system when you're fasting long, feasting well, training smart, without an abundance of fat in your nutrition. So we have to find the even balance of that. Metabolic flexibility. Again, metabolic flexibility is that thing where you know you're converting energy properly. And metabolically is how we get rid of that visceral fat. So we want to make sure that we are metabolically flexible. There's lots of ways to test that. We talk about the Lumen here. That is one way for sure. But you can also just go off of the fact that you feel good when you do XYZ, and that's usually a good indication you're metabolically flexible as well. And then, of course, going to your annual physical, asking your doctor to run specific blood work tests for you. Most of these are pretty standard with an annual physical. What is your A1C? Are you staying out of that pre-diabetic range? What is your fasting blood glucose? So there's ranges for all of that. You want to make sure your fasting blood glucose is in the normal range to know that you are, in fact, draining those tanks efficiently. And then triglycerides are another one of those things that you want to get tested. You want to make sure that those are in the normal range as well, because there is a such thing as non-alcoholic fatty liver syndrome. And that is when your liver is just like cram-packed with a bunch of sugar and your triglyceride levels start to rise. So all of these things are ways to test, right? You can test the ketones through a kit. You can test metabolic flexibility through a Lumen or other devices that are available. And then you can also make sure that the blood work that you have annually done with your doctor is all in the normal ranges. Okay. And then last but not least, I have to make sure that we advertise this, because this is where I teach you the foundation of all of this, with you making very informed, common sense decisions for yourself. Because again, like I've been saying a lot here lately, you have to be happy and healthy. If you're chasing numbers, if you're feeling deprived, if you're not happy with the results that you're getting, they are going to be short-lived, right? And short-lived drives us crazy. We're jumping from one diet, one expert, one way of living to the next, hoping that we're going to find the magic cure. And you're not going to find the magic cure if you're not doing the work on the thoughts that you're have in your brain that are going to lead to decisions that you make, end up making you feel emotionally unstable about the things that you're doing. And that is frantic. We don't want to live that way. This is what we teach inside the Intermittent Fasting for Today's online course and community. Week 1, I teach you how to fast so that you can get all of the things that we talked about here, right? The craving controls, need less food, mental performance, endurance capacity, energized sense of calm, all of that we cover, and you should start reaping the benefits of in week 1 of our course. Then week 2, we talk about how to feast well for you. How do you decide whether the food choices that you're making are working for you? There is a series of signs and signals your body is going to send to you. And then you have to decide, do I want to feel this way when I eat this thing? Or would it be better for me to eat this thing so I feel this way? And that's going to be dependent on you because everybody has a different body. Chemistry is different. Hormones are different. The way I eat is not going to work for you. So I can't preach that to you. But I do guide you and give you some cues so that you can figure that out for yourself. And then the third week, we talk about how to trust the process for you, right? So many women come to me and say, I'm feeling fantastic, but I don't trust it. I lost weight, but I don't trust it. I am working out better, but I don't trust it. I see myself in a better way. I'm fitting in my jeans. I don't have all this fat, but I don't trust it. We have to trust the process. If you are feeling a certain way and you were living a certain way and you weren't happy and healthy, and you made changes to now that you're at the point where you're happy and healthy, trust it. Trust it, right? Because if you weren't healthy, then that's not working for you, right? If you are healthy, that's a good sign that things are working for you. And like I said, there's plenty of ways to test that. So by the end of class, you will know how to become a fat burning machine without having to follow a diet. That's the promise that I give everyone who jumps into class, because I don't want you stressing out, chasing things, feeling frantic. We deserve to live these next 40 or 50 years of our life confidently, empowered, energized, feeling good about our life, feeling good about how we show up for ourselves. And we should be able to do that in the simplest, right, most authentic way. And I promise you, if you figure these things out for yourself, right, and you experience them for yourself through class with like-minded women, you will leave so empowered to go on and live the rest of your life in such a happy and healthy way. And that's the goal that we have here for everyone in our community. Okay. So that's how to become a fat burning machine or become fat adapted or use fat as an energy source. I shared with you the signs and signals that you can look for. Trust the signs and signals. If you're seeing something that's different and you like it, trust it. Don't doubt yourself. Your body is never going to lie to you. Okay, so let's see who we have here today. Miss Sandy, always good to have you with us. She is a January 2022 grad, and she is thriving with everything that she learned inside of class. Lori Damaro, April 20 grad. So she's been with us for 2 years. Congratulations, Lori. Good to have you back with us. Amy, hi, June 2021 grad. Excited for this content. Fantastic. I hope you learned something today. I hope you feel empowered about making decisions for yourself. The thing about taking care of ourselves, and especially for us women who are aging, is that it is very common sense. It's very common sense. But I myself have gotten caught up in someone saying this and someone saying that, and maybe I should try this. And what I have really found over the course of these last 7 years that I've been practicing intermittent fasting is that you have to trust yourself. You got to trust your gut, right? If something doesn't feel right, it's not right. If you're not getting the advertised result of something, then it's not for you, or it's not for you the way it's been designed, right? I have done so many programs on fitness and diet and testing and all of these things, right? And I know what works for me, and I don't have a problem tweaking it to make it work for me. And that's the hope that I have for you guys too, is you gotta go with the common sense of what you know works for you. Jackie, I think it is, graduated 2017. My gosh, girlfriend, you're what I call my OG. So good to have you with us. I hope you're still thriving with what you learned in class. Tina, hello from South Dakota, November 21 graduate. Good to catch you live today. Good to catch you, Tina, as well. Pam, February 2022 grad. My girl Pam rocked class, got some amazing results, and I am so proud of the work that she did to really get everything that she said that she wanted out of class. So super happy to have you with us. Lisa, 2018 grad. Great information as always. Super glad to have you back with us, my friend. And then Wanda, with me, it is always mindset. A billion years of focusing around food is sometimes a real challenge, but each day is a brand new opportunity to drain those tanks. Yeah, that's what I really, really, really like to focus on, right? Is we have to think about today and tomorrow, and yesterday is yesterday, right? So How are you feeling today? What can you do today to make today super effective? Because you're going to sleep tonight and you're going to wake up tomorrow and everything chemically and hormonally is going to be completely different for you, right? And so we have to stop thinking about undoing things, right? Because it is what it is. And we have to start thinking about how we want tomorrow to be. And this is another one of those things that, I say all the time, especially this is going to be for my Lumen specific users, right? Or I guess it's for anything. Every program or every device or everything has like something that you get awarded at the end. This is also true for like my Peloton users, right? They have a thing called a Strive score. And the harder you work out, right, the bigger your Strive score is. Well, that's not an award for me. Like my goal is to get a low Strive score because I want to stay in like an endurance fat burning zone when I'm working out, right? So again, you have to look at how things are being valued, how things are being rewarded, and does that make sense for you? Being the best, being the top, getting the best score on something might not be where you are in your life today. And so you have to redefine that for you. For Lumen, it's that metabolic flexibility score. I have no desire to be at the top of that. At all, because every day for me, my body's shifting and changing, and I just want to be happy and healthy. And that score means nothing to me. What only thing that means something to me is today, or maybe even just this week, right? What am I going to do today to ensure that tomorrow morning I wake up with the energy that I need and the mental clarity that I need and the physique that I want to have? And so those are the decisions I'm going to make today. So hopefully that helps you guys too. Drain those tanks, sister. Me too, Wanda. I find the fasting is helping me a day at a time to clear my mind and patterns too. Yeah, for sure. Draining the tanks every single day. Like we're blessed to get a new day, right? We're blessed to have a new day. We're blessed to have the opportunity to make decisions so that we can look and feel our best and live our most authentic life. You can't live your life authentically if you're living in doubt, fear, denial. You don't trust what the signs and signals are that your body is sending you, and you don't know how to answer the ask, right? That your body is communicating with you. And so sometimes you're going to need the energy, sometimes you're going to need the sleep, sometimes you're going to need the food, sometimes you're going to need the fast, and every single day is an opportunity for you to ask the two questions we thrive on here. How long are you going to fast, and how well are you going to feast, so that you can look and feel your best? And that is the premise of this community. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope this helps you guys figure out if you are becoming a fat burner, or how to become fat adapted. There's no quick fix. There are no pills that are going to do this for you. There's no concoctions that are going to do this to you. The best way to become a fat burner or to become fat adaptive and take advantage of all that has to offer you, not only on the inside of your body, but the outside as well, is for you to know how to drain the tanks efficiently for you by fasting long, feasting well, and training smart. If you haven't jumped into our course yet, the Intermittent Fasting for Today's Aging Woman course starts the first Saturday of every month. You can go to the description box to get on my email list. I start emailing everyone to invite you to join our wonderful world of fasting about the first week before class starts. So just get on the email list and I'll make sure that I get you notified when we start class. Or you can go to the fortodaysagingwoman.com site now and go ahead and get yourself registered. Registration is always open. Thanks for joining me today, you guys. I will see you guys on Monday, where we'll talk another thing about intermittent fasting, or I'll see you tomorrow, where on Instagram we'll be talking about metabolic flexibility at 1 p.m. Central Standard Time. Have a good rest of your day.